Hello, everyone. Thursday morning. Welcome to Thursday Thoughts. I am on LinkedIn, so if you want to chat with me, I am going to be on here answering your questions. Today, I want to talk about something that really affects and enhances your brand. Okay? Rebranding. Yes. So, why is rebranding so important? It's important because you need to stay relevant, right? If you've never done a branding exercise before, or if you've rebranded more than 10 years ago, guess what? Your consumers have changed, okay? The target customers, say you were targeting the 40-year-old moms 10 years ago, are going to be different. The millennial moms are different. Okay. So you really need to rebrand to make your brand relevant. Okay. I am talking both for the B2C and the B2B crowd. Okay. If you're a B2C company, so much more important to do that. If you're the B2B company, then maybe it's not as relevant and you might not, really spend too much on rebranding. Okay. But say if you are a legacy company, all right, and a lot of bakeries and a lot of ingredient and equipment companies are legacy companies, being that it wasn't start this generation. It was started 2-3 generations ago. All right. And if your brand has been staying the same way, the look has been staying the same way for the last generation, it's time to update it. It's time to look at the whole company and rebrand it. Okay. Now, there are differences between branding for a particular product line or branding for the company. All right. Both are important. One is more expensive than the other. It's also depending on the size of your company, okay, and how old your company is. The bigger it is, the more expensive it is. That's just the way it is, okay? So I'm going to share 3 key elements today to rebranding, okay? What to expect, right? The 3 key elements are leadership, money, and time. These are the things that you need to focus on as you rebrand, okay? And I will go in depth into these as we go through this particular live segment. On Thursdays, I just like to share non-technical tips, just tips on business itself. And today, this jumped into my mind. On rebranding, because a lot of bakeries are just not used to this term. They're just not used to this, right? I want to make sure that the bakers out there get into this century, be of value, and make sure that you work on brand as well as product. They say that the best product sells. I disagree with that. The best product with the best brand sells. Okay. So if your product or your brand has been in the market for more than 10 years and it hasn't changed its image, it's time to stay current. It's time to rebrand. Okay. If that happens, then it gives you the ability to connect to the new audience. Like I said, the millennials, the Gen Zs, whatever comes up after that, right? So the next generation, I don't know what you're going to call the generation after Z. If you have, I haven't seen anything there yet. I have seen everything from quarantines to the Gen C, the Gen Qs, So if you know what the generation after Gen Zs are called, put it down here. I need to know. Because that's not my children. My children's children. They're not born yet, or they're just being born. Um, you have during a rebranding session, you are going to reflect on your current goals and your current culture and how you are going to build on these with the new goals and the new culture. Okay, so that's going to be part of your rebranding process. Don't forget, any kind of rebranding is going to boost your bottom line. I have seen this happen in many, many companies. They sell more products because they attract new customers. Okay, and who doesn't want to do that? Who doesn't want to attract new customers, right? So the number one step is to hire a marketing company to rebrand your company or product. Okay, so how much should you spend? I know it's going to be a sticky shot to a lot of the bakers out there because this is usually not part of your bottom line. It's not part of your cost. It will affect your bottom line. Okay, so rebranding a product or a company takes time. It also takes quite a bit of money. All right. For something like my size, when I started up, I was a less than 5 employee company. All right. Rebranding for me was cheap. In fact, I asked part of college course to help me with this project with students, right? And then I went on from there. I got the data from there. I got the market analysis from there. And I went to a marketing company and asked them, how much is this for me to rebrand my company, for me to create a strong brand? Okay. Took me $3,000 to $5,000. That's when I first launched 7 years ago. And I had less than 5 people in my company. All right. As you grow, you are going to be at least $500,000 in revenue. Then you would have to think about spending $20,000 to $30,000 on a rebranding exercise. Okay. When you reach $1 million in revenue, you should expect to spend about $30,000 to $50,000 on rebranding your company. When you are around averaging $5 million in revenue, expect to spend $100,000 to $300,000 on rebranding. And when you're 10 million and above, those rebranding exercise can take you from $300,000 to $500,000. So expect that kind of cost and prepare for it, okay? Because even at a $10 million range, right, 300 to 500K is going to bring you at least 15% increasing income because of rebranding, because you're able to reach a broader audience, okay? And please don't do rebranding yourself. Bring the experts in. How do you know they are experts? Look at their portfolio. If they're going to charge you 30 to 50K, they would have an established line of customers already. Let them sell you, let them present to you what they've done for their customers and what is the bottom line impact. Okay, don't do this in-house. I do not suggest that because you are a baker. You focus on baking. You know, that's your job. Bring a marketer in to help you market your brand. That's their job. And if they are good marketers, I've met excellent marketers in the industry. They are going to bring the strength and the focus you need to rebrand your product. Okay. So rebranding needs to come from the top. Okay. It needs to come from leadership. So the reason why I say that is because it is a very stressful, tenuous, and it requires the legacy partner, which is either father, uncle, grandfather, or whoever it is, okay? It requires their buy-in. And if they can't buy into this process, if you can't convince them to buy into this process, then the entire rebranding is going to go down the drain. So it starts from the top, right? The legacy team, the legacy partners, that's what I like to call them. They've been there for generations. Okay. They need to be bought into this process, what it looks like. And for you to get them there, you need to provide the data, you need to provide the analysis, the market competitive analysis. Okay. And to do that, sometimes I start with college students. If you have a university close by, they would have MBA programs. They would have MBA students looking at getting capstone courses in. You could be a great study. Maybe start there. Have them analyze your company, and teach them about your company. And then with that base data, with that base understanding on where you are in your market, convince the leadership, convince the older generation, right? And then spend money to go hire a marketer to change things, right? So I would do that. Okay, if I was in a 3 or 4th generation bakery and I don't have much resources, right? I would do that, honestly. And when you get to the point of hiring a marketer, make sure that they have proven that they have changed and launched successful brands. Okay. In my experience, the more expensive marketers are the ones that have established CPG products in the market already. Okay. So if you look at Amy's, you look at um, uh, um, what do you call? So many brands are being bought now. I just can't. I just can't keep track of what brands that are not bought by a big Fortune 500 yet. Okay, let's try this. Local brands that haven't been bought but did a successful rebranding. And most of this rebranding is being spearheaded by investment arms because, they choose to buy an equity and change the brand around and make it more valuable. So Amy's Kitchen, right? I think it might be bought already. Soy Delicious, I think that might be bought already too. So a lot of the brands that that I'm talking about probably have been bought already. And that's because successful rebranding, right? So go into those brands and look for the marketers that actually rebranded those products. Because products like Cashy, right? Like Kind bars, even Cliff bars. Cliff bars is the only one that hasn't been bought, but they have remained relevant all these years, right? So those that have successful brand presence in the CPG space have had marketers that successfully rebranded the products. Okay, so look them up, do some research. There's always tons of stuff on brands and the marketers that work on them on the internet. Okay, so that's a good place to start. How would you want to make an impact? All right, with your rebrand requires a team that believes in the exercise. Okay, so if your company hasn't rebranded before, it is time consuming. Okay, and it's not the CEO's job to do it. It's the CEO's job to make sure that he or she has the right people in place to implement it. Okay, it goes to everybody down to the janitor. Okay, and it's important. Okay, you're going to spend all this money to remain relevant, and it is important. And the reason why I say that is because I am very passionate towards this industry. I know a lot of fourth generation bakers, okay? And I want you guys to thrive and remain relevant. And that's why I'm recommending this, okay? And for you to remain relevant and for you to depend on your legacy to carry this on, this is something you have to do. Whether it hurts like hell pulling that teeth, you have to rebrand, okay? Depending on the size of your company, depending on your revenues, someone at the $1 million stage is going to take a short time to rebrand versus someone at the $10 million stage. Okay. So on average, I'm taking this on average, you are going to take 6 months to rebrand. All right. Why would it take so long? Well, let me break it down for you. 1 month, you need to spend 1 month on analysis, okay? Data collection and market analysis. That is going to take some time for either the marketing team or the students to interview everyone and understand where does your brand stand in the market, okay? 1 month is actually pretty fast, but I'm just doing the shortcuts for you today. It takes another month to take that data, to take that analysis, to come up with prototypes, right? That the legacy team, that the senior membership team have to agree on. And this back and forth, at least 1 month, okay? That's no quick way of doing it, unless if you implement Slack in your company and communication is really fast, okay? Maybe try use Slack or something. The third month, you're going to present the idea and you're going to finalize it. And you're going to talk about what's the next step. Actually, the month after everyone agrees that that's the logo, that's the values that we're going to move with. It is a terribly confusing month. I've seen this happen in all companies that I've rebranded in. Terribly confusing, okay? But give that extra month to yourself to think about it before you implement it. The fourth month, you're going to implement it. So all your logos, all your headers, footers, whatever, company logos, packaging, and all that stuff needs to be taken care of, okay? Don't take your time on it. One step every day. You need to work on it. You didn't spend all this money to stop there, okay? Implementation. And then another 2 months for your printers to get stuff to you, to get bags printed, to get box printed, all that stuff, right? So I'm giving you 6 months if you work like a well-oiled machine. Okay, if you work the old way with face-to-face meetings, with written notes, with faxes, it's going to take longer. Okay, if you work with Slack, Zoom, other forms of quick communication, it's going to reduce your time down to 25% less. Okay, and that's why I'm such a big fan of Zoom and Slack, because it just cuts my time down in communication. Time spent on communication. So before I end, let me elaborate what needs to be done if you decide to rebrand. Okay, the 3 key elements are leadership. You need to get the buy-in from leadership. Money, you need to budget for this. And I mentioned earlier on in the video, the average range for the company's revenue at those stages. Okay, and time. You gotta give it time. You gotta give people time to change, and you gotta give your products time to change as well. So I hope this 3 key elements would set your brains thinking, innovating, and helping the next generation to bake as successfully as you did in your generation. Okay. I'm going to start this discussion in the Baker forums. So follow the links below to get to the discussion that I will be pioneering at our forums if you need my thoughts and my feedback on rebranding. Okay. Thank you, Bakers. I hope you have a great day, and I hope all of you take this opportunity, especially in the middle of a pandemic, to sit back and think a lot. Have a great day.